I've been touring Ireland for a couple of weeks, and I woke up this morning and I was feeling fucked up. And so I need to say a word about my agent. My agent is a white British woman, home counties girl. And she's been my agent for 20 years. And there's never been a contract signed. Because you know why? Because when she speaks, I know what the fuck she talking about. And when I speak, she at least has the decency to pretend she know what the fuck I'm talking about. But she talks to me straight. I woke up this morning feeling bad. I almost went here tonight. I called her and I said, I'm feeling a bit bunged up. Maybe we should cancel tonight. And she said, yes, we can do that. Or you could just try being a man for a fucking change. So here is. Oh man, I do love coming to Ireland, and I'm not just a comic on stage saying that because there's a bunch of Irish motherfuckers in the audience. But I do love coming to Ireland, man, because believe it or not, I find Ireland extremely progressive. I do. Real talk. Just the last time I toured, my tour ended in Belfast at a stately facility called Mandela Hall. It was a beautiful building named after Nelson Mandela in white old Ireland. That's progressive. It just makes me hope that somewhere in South Africa, there's a building called the Bobby Sands Restaurant and Casino. I have a dream. Oh, man. And I tell you what, man, I tell you the truth. I've been trying to get back in shape and stuff, and I really believe that social media has affected wider society. I think people have become more bold in social society just because of social media. I was walking down the street the other day, and this dude walks up to me, and it looked like he's about to shake my hand, and I offer my hand, and he pulls it back, and he says, I don't like you. I used to like you, but I went to see your gig last year, and you called me a cunt. And I said, that don't sound like me. And he said, you said all Brexiters were cunts. And I said, oh, no, sir. I know I did not say that because I know I don't think that. But let me tell you this. You've imagined that I've called you a cunt when I haven't. And if you're walking around and imagining people are calling you a cunt when they haven't, that might be your conscience trying to tell you I swear to God, man, the other day I was riding my bike and this guy comes running up and he's like, Reg! And I'm like, yo! And he goes, oh my God, it's you. He said, would you please do me a big favor? I said, if it's in my power, what's up? And he said, my wife, she just left me. She cheated on me. She's a huge fan of yours. Would you do a video with me so we can send it to her? I said, of me and you fucking? And I swear to God, he goes, you do that? My life is changing. I'm in a transitional period right now. A few months ago, I did something I ain't never done before. I turned 50. And just change and just things changing and just, I don't know, how do I put this? I used to say the word nigger on stage a lot. And it's part of where I come from in the South. People do that. And when I say the word nigger, I ain't trying to hurt nobody. I ain't trying to make no social statement. And I'm certainly not trying to offend white people. And I'm not trying to reclaim it for black people because I don't think we invented it. So, but you know what? One of my all-time favorites, one of my heroes, Richard Pryor, around the same age of 50, in 1983, he did his last concert film. And in that film, he said that he was never, ever gonna say the word nigger again. He said he was in Africa, just walking around, and then a voice said to him, do you see any niggers? And he said, no. And the voice said, that's because there aren't any. And he said he felt convicted and shamed because of all the decades he said it, and he swore he'd never do it again. And that's been resonating with me recently, so maybe I need to stop. But I have to keep in mind a couple of things. Number one, Richard Pryor did a lot of drugs, so he heard voices all the fucking time. And it's also around this same time in 1983 when Richard Pryor mysteriously stopped being fucking funny. So, coincidence? I'm recently a father of a daughter. And thank you. No, you're too kind. Thank you. She's 18. I met her a few months ago. Sometimes your sperm comes back. It be all big and grown up and wearing clothes and has a name and shit. Yeah, goddamn. And you know it's going okay, but I mean, there's difficulties. Like, she does this thing, and it's something I think teenagers do. She does this thing when she's not pleased with me or her mother. She ignores us. Just ignores us. Makes a point of fucking ignoring us. It drives her mother crazy. But what my daughter doesn't realize, since I haven't known her very long, I don't really care. And her mom is always pleading, always just taking up for her. Reg, you don't understand what 18-year-old girls go through. I said, yeah, that's true, but it couldn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes to understand. And you, her mama, you used to be an 18-year-old girl. You don't seem to understand what the fuck she talking about either. And I said, woman, this is basically what I understand my role to be. I'm supposed to pay for shit, not beat her up, don't fuck her, and then after that, If I can remember to sprinkle in a few follow your dreams, I'm up for Daddy of the Year. Oh man. Not as funny as I had hoped. A couple of years ago, I broke my leg. It changes things. And it nearly brought me and my brother closer. Like, me and my brother, I have a brother, and we love each other, but we don't like each other much. We get along best by email. See what it is? He's my mother's favorite child, and I am my father's favorite child. And since Mama died first, I won. And at the funeral, I walked up behind him and said, "Gonna be some changes around here." And he's always picking a fight with me, right? He's always trying to pick a fight with me. I'm in the kitchen making a sandwich. This is like last year. And he walks in and he says, "I think you need to have a word with your niece." I said, "Really? Why on earth would I need to have a word with your daughter?" He says, "Well, here lately she seems to be developing, I guess, what you'd call an alternative lifestyle. And I thought, since you live over there in England with all them socialists, atheists, and drug takers, I thought maybe you could say something helpful." Just as I was about to poke my finger through this motherfucker's soul, my niece walked in, 22, beautiful, educated, and recently graduated. And I pulled my tongue back and I said, "Good morning, baby girl, how you doing?" And she flips on me and she says, "I'm a celibate bisexual, okay? I'm a celibate bisexual. Do you think you understand that?" I said, "I think so. During a threesome, you would be useless." As I said, I broke my leg. The biggest thing that all comedians feel the most is being away from this for too long. I go more than 3 days without working, I feel like my timing is leaving. I go more than 5 days, I feel like I'm losing my mental and verbal dexterity. I go longer than that, then I get paranoid that maybe mediocre niggas are gaining on me. So I'm laid up, and I'm trying to think, I need to find some kind of way to stay mentally and verbally sharp so when I get back to the stage, I can get match fit sooner. And I came up with this idea, and it's unorthodox, but basically what I did was, every night, late at night, I would go on Twitter, and I would find American alt-right racists to debate. No, see, I figured if I could defend my position logically, coherently, morally, with a touch of humor against somebody who despises me just because of skin color, well then later this year when my tour goes through Millwall, piece of piss. So obviously, next move, I gotta go on Twitter and find me some racists. And believe it or not, didn't take all that long, really. Within 20 minutes, I found me 3 or 4 really good racists, really enthusiastic. But in less than 30 minutes, I bested them. I defeated them. I got a little bit of charge from it, but nowhere near the voltage I was looking for. So clearly I need more racists, way more racists. But how do you get a bunch of racists to come to you all at once on Twitter rather than time-consumingly hand-picking the best ones? And then it hit me. Send out a bait tweet. A tweet that would bait a racist. And I sent out this tweet that said, "The white man is the single greatest destructive force the earth has ever known." Wonder what you think about that. I closed my laptop, made a sandwich, rolled a spliff, called my sister, and when I got back to my laptop, them murderous redneck crackers was fucking ready. There was a fleet of angry racists dying to talk to me. Now, there's many things I could talk about that happened over this period, but what I'd like to talk to you that came out of this is a bond that I formed with what I call my most reliable racist. He was there for every fight, from beginning to end, and he never let up. And at the end of the first month, me and him jousting, me and him admitted to each other manfully, but reluctantly, that we were starting to respect one another. But a month later, that's when things started coming apart. Me and him was arguing about everything except to do with race. We was just getting personal. In fact, looking back at it, me and him was struggling with the fact that we were starting to like one another. About this time, my father got sick, and I had to go back to the States. He had pneumonia. I jumped on the plane, and I went straight from the airport to the hospital, and I sat with him all day. And when he went off to sleep, I opened my laptop, and there was a direct message from my most reliable racist. And it said, "Now please don't get me wrong, I still pray daily for the extermination of your kind. However, all that aside, I just hope your father feels better." The other night, I was at this late night urban situation. And I found myself in this conversation with this young man and this young lady. They're both in their 30s, and they're talking about James Bond. And so the young lady says, "I think James Bond should be a woman." And the young white dude says, "I think James Bond should be a black guy." And I said, "How about this? This is my idea for a Bond movie. The movie starts, and James Bond is in a penthouse, New Year's Eve in London. People partying downstairs, but he upstairs by himself. He got on a tuxedo, the bow tie is undone, and he's sitting there in a chair, and he's got a gun with a silencer in one hand and a vodka martini in the other, and he's crying. And he puts the gun to his mouth, and just before he pulls the trigger, mobile goes. It's M. He looks at the phone, he looks at the gun, back and forth. He decides not to kill himself. But since he's suicidal, he takes more risks than he ever does, which leads to greater action sequences. And after 4 or 5 action sequences where he doesn't get injured, he starts to suspect that he can't be killed. And so he goes to M, and M sits him down, takes him to a private room, and shows him that he's one of 7 embryos that was injected with some alien DNA, which is why he can't be killed. This is why when people are about to kill him, they over-explain and shit. And so Bond looking at all this, and then M shows him, M shows him when he was Sean Connery, when he was Roger Moore, when he was George Lazenby. And Bond looks at this, and Bond says, "So it doesn't really matter what I am. I can be a bitch or a nigga, don't make no difference." And M goes, "What are you saying, James?" Bond says, "Never mind." Now, that's an example of a joke that was hilarious in my mind. Hey, listen, before I go, couple things. I got 5 minutes to turn this into a victory. Before I go, I want to say this, couple things. My father, a few weeks before I turned 50, my father turned 100. He was born in 1919. He remembers when dog food came out. You know, when it was all the rage. I went home for his birthday, and My sister says, would you come and sit with Daddy tomorrow? I said, what's the matter? The local newspaper is coming to interview him. And I said, say no more, because sometimes he can be a bit extra. So I turn up, and he pissy. And I said, hey, old man. And he says, I don't understand why I gotta do this. They ain't gonna do nothing but ask me about being old. Sick of motherfuckers ask me about being old. I said, don't be like that. Just be honest and fun and polite. He said, yeah, okay. So the young girl turns up, reporter, white girl, about 25. She's at least polite and respectful. If not, disinterested and unoriginal. And I swear to God, her first question, no paraphrasing, she says, so, Mr. Hunter, 100 years old, that's incredible. Tell me, from your point of view, how is the South most different today than it was when you were a boy? So he looks at me and I go, and he looks back at her and he goes, white people are a little nicer, I guess. Man, I remember the first time I went to Australia. I was there for a couple of months, and while I was there, I was fortunate enough to meet a young Australian woman who was sympathetic to my cause. And one evening I rang her up trying to avail myself of some more of her sympathy. And I rang her up and I said, good evening, ma'am. I said, you got some free time this evening? Can you stand some more company? And her exact response, you can come by if you want, but me painters are in. But you can whack us in the shitter if you like. It took me 20 minutes working out she was talking about anal sex. Because back in America, to whack somebody in the shitter means you shot them to death in the toilet. Anyway, she dead. And I'm a pleaser, what can I say? If you find yourself in a position where you stepped outside of your normal groove, when you stepped outside of what's expected of you, the people that are around you may not understand. They may not be able to support you. But don't start to hate yourself just because you wanted to know something different. When I was home last time, it was a Sunday morning, and my cousin called me, and he was like, I'm on my way over. I need to talk to you. I'm in trouble. So I sat up, and he came in, and I said, what's the matter? And he said, I was at a party last night, and I got high and drunk. I said, yeah. And he said, I think I fucked a man. I said, okay, calm down. I said, there's a very easy way to figure this out, because you may not be gay. And that's what you panic. You think, I might be gay, but I didn't know I was gay. I said, how about this? Sometimes a man will fuck a man purely out of human curiosity to know what it's like. Sometimes that same man will fuck a second man just to make sure he saw what he thought he saw the first time. But if you need to fuck any more men than that, you probably gay. Take care of yourself. You've been beautiful.